Hey everyone, welcome to 5 More Minutes, the show where two friends relive their childhoods, or in some cases, learn about everything they missed out on. I'm Kendra.
And I'm Scott.
My joke is Mom asked me to put ketchup on the grocery list. Now I can't see anything.
Uh, Dumping the ketchup right on the list, huh?
Hell yeah.
You ought not to do that.
I mean, it'd be like that sometimes. So, and if you use the like organic, no sugar added ketchup, that's some thick stuff with
Ooh,
like three C's.
damn, that's thick.
Yeah, I'm really tired because well, since today was freshman only day, I was like, oh, I'll just like I'm reusing stuff from last year. I'll just wait until they do it all. And then I actually had to work the whole time I was at school. And then I had a plasma appointment. And I don't know if it's because they upped their prices back up this week or whatever, but I got there right at the time of my appointment because I didn't leave school as early as normal. And I didn't get so my appointment was at 3:25 and I didn't get through my screening until after 4:15.
Wow,
So I was in line for like 45 minutes.
solid.
So I got home at like 5:15.
Then you
And
gotta
I
roll
still
right
have
into
to
this.
yeah, and I still have to walk my dog when we're done.
Oh shit, all
And
day.
I haven't even figured out how to get back up for CrossFit yet. Because I haven't in like 6 months. I haven't gone at 5 a.m., but I like need to.
Yeah.
Because the only other option is to go at like 5:30 p.m. I don't want to do that.
Why not?
Because that's like right in the middle of me doing whatever I do when I get home.
Oh, yeah. I get that. Get slurped down with coffee.
Yeah. I don't know. Something's amiss at the crick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Title of your new novel.
That will make sense to absolutely no one unless someone who's listening to this has listened to all of campaign one of NADPOD.
Probably not.
I need to order coffee tomorrow after I get home though, because this is depressing. Kind of want to try something new in my
Something
espresso
new,
machine.
fresh.
But I've got like this one espresso coffee like really dialed in. So I like don't want to try a new one because I don't want it because you waste like so much of it when you're trying to dial it in. Because it's not like a universal setting for every coffee bean.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit better at doing it quicker than I was, before.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know.
Nice. So we didn't hear much from you this weekend. What did you do this weekend?
This weekend, I worked on my truck some more.
Oh yes, almost done with the painting.
Because on Saturday I polished and sanded everything. Mostly, I have a few places to touch up that because of where I parked, I couldn't really see. Just where I need to like go over it more with the heavy cut compound. I think there might be a couple places I need to sand. I had to like blend some overspray in on the fender flare. And it's kind of at a weird angle. I think I'm gonna hand sand it this time because it left. I'm sure the original clear coat's not super thick, so I probably shouldn't have used my um orbital sander, but it's fine. It should come out. They're not that noticeable if it doesn't. It's really weird looking. Maybe I just like skipped it kind of weird on it and didn't get it all the way out.
Yeah.
And I was letting the paint cure so I could put the protective film layer on it because I didn't want to like mess it up and rip the paint off. But then I got a rock chip right where I was going to put it. So it's like no point in me putting it on anymore.
Woo. Nice.
I need to touch up my everything that I painted with bed liner because it now has polish stuck all over it.
All right. A little bit of extra.
I tried to scrub it out with a toothbrush and some simple green, but yeah, simple green, but like the professional one. I'm gonna try my alcohol. I'm almost out, so I don't really want to use it in case I print something. But I might just end up using some of that black stuff on it. I feel like it makes it worse because then you have to do it more. But whatever.
Whatever,
And I
bro.
inserted my fog lights.
Nice.
But I haven't driven when it's dark yet to test them out. I think that the one on the driver's side is a little bit like my bracket moved after I pressed it into the JB Weld, so it's like angled just like a little bit.
Mm.
And I think if I put the bolt in the other hole on this side, it'll be enough pressure to like straighten it.
Oh, okay.
But
Yeah.
I need to take my license plate off to get like the right angle for my hand to fit through. And I was really over it, so I stopped. Because I was at
Nice.
my parents' house. I was like sitting on the gravel.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You get
I
some
was-
cardboard to sit on or something.
well, I didn't know it was gonna take that long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So an
that's
exciting weekend.
that's what I did.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Chilling with the dog.
Mm-hmm.
Solid. Well, we did a little shopping in Coeur d'Alene. We bought a lot of Pokemon cards. So it was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
We watched Waterworld on Saturday night. I don't know if you'd ever seen that before.
I feel like I should know what that is.
It was pretty good. It's like the opposite of Mad Max, and everything's water instead of everything being desert. But
I've never really seen Mad Max.
well, you get it. But they're basically the whole world's ocean, and like people are trying to find land. And, like it's like crazy raiders and like apocalypse people, and it was pretty good though. I had never seen it before, and I approve. So yeah, it was a good time. And then I watched some. I'm getting back into Vikings again. So that's on Amazon if anyone's bored. I didn't know how many seasons there were. There were like 8 or 9 seasons, I think. And a dog bark. Woof woof.
The Lord of the Rings series premieres in 47 hours and 43 minutes and 58 seconds.
That's pretty cool. I am looking forward to that. That will be good. I did watch the first 2 episodes of House of the Dragon too, so I'm back into that, baby.
I started to watch the first one, but then did that thing where I was like, "You're not paying attention. You need to stop the episode."
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's weird seeing that Doctor Who guy as like a
There's a Doctor Who guy.
Yeah, he's like the 11th Doctor or whatever. He's like the brother.
Matt Smith.
Yes.
I don't think I like watched it enough. Like I got like 10 minutes in. Is he in the first 10 minutes?
I think so.
I wasn't paying attention. That's why I stopped watching.
Okay, makes sense. But he has like they all have, super long light hair. So it's just funny to see him in that. So, but it's really good. I mean, 2 episodes in, I'm enjoying it. So
look at that.
Yeah. Look at all these show plugs coming out of nowhere.
I honestly never even watched all of Game of Thrones because Matilda and Bailey were watching it in the living room when I lived with them at the same time that I was trying to watch it. Yeah. So I gave up because I kept seeing like random episodes.
Like spoilers. Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was good. I mean, I enjoyed the first Game of Thrones. I know no people didn't really like the ending, but I thought it was okay. Like they had to do what they could because the books weren't coming out fast enough. So yeah. So anyway, I guess that's random show corner right there.
Heck yeah.
I guess we can just kind of jump in. But we had a recommended movie to watch, which was called Drop Dead Fred. I'd never heard of before. I don't know about you.
Honestly, I feel like I have heard Jackie talk about it, and like it looked familiar. Like I don't think I've ever watched it, but maybe she's like turned it on before because I was like, this guy looks like a big leprechaun and he seems familiar.
Yeah, so that's the picture behind Kendra, but crazy leprechaun looking man. So I learned a little bit about the show, but not a ton. Came out in 1991, which I also didn't know. So check that out.
Heck yeah.
And it's classified as a black comedy fantasy film, which whatever that means, The director was Ate De Jong, and it was produced by Polygram and Working Title Films, all these weird names. Starred Phoebe Cates as a young woman named Elizabeth Cronin and Rick Mile as her imaginary friend, Drop Dead Fred. And I was kind of hoping at some point in the movie we would learn why he's called Drop Dead Fred, but we never got that closure. So I don't know why he's called that.
I think it's because they were trying to get rid of him and they wanted him to drop dead.
I guess, but didn't there were like other quote unquote imaginary friends that also had weird names? So I don't know if that was just his thing, but that's a good thought. Maybe they're just like, we're sick of this guy. But I don't know. He's like, call me Drop Dead Fred, you know? So also in the movie was Carrie Fisher. And then some other folks I didn't really know. Ron Eldard, Tim Matheson, and Bridget Fonda. And
is Bridget Fonda related to Jane Fonda?
I'm guessing so. Maybe not. She's the daughter of Peter Fonda. I don't know who Peter Fonda is.
Wait. Her name is Bridget Jane Fonda. Is that the same person?
It just says Bridget Fonda. Parents, Peter Fonda, Sarah Jane Brewer. So yeah.
Oh, she is the granddaughter of Henry Fonda and niece of Jane Fonda, both famous actors.
Aha! So they're in the acting world.
Just like that, the person who plays Robin on Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Because Maya Hawke's parents are Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
All right.
I know what I'm talking about.
Sometimes, for sure.
Hey.
So a little bit more about the movie, just to get into some of the weeds at the beginning. Came out May 24th in the United States. It had a budget of $6.8 million.
Of the year we were born. Yeah. It's like right there in the middle of our birthdays.
Yeah. The year of the Lord, 1991.
I'm just unsatisfied with my coffee.
Kendra just does not like that coffee.
The gods so fancy. Well, I stirred it a little bit, but it did look really fancy when I walked up here.
Yeah. It's all separated and whatnot.
Yeah. It looks really cool because you shake it aggressively. That's how you get a shaken espresso. You gotta shake it really hard for at least 30 seconds.
Whoa.
And then it's all frothy. You put your espresso, 3 ice cubes, some maple syrup, and some cinnamon, and you shake it. I've got little lids for my mason jar, so I can do it all in one. And then you add more ice, and then you top it up with the milk, like vroom.
So very specifically 3 ice cubes to shake it.
I don't know if everyone else does just 3 ice cubes, but that's how many I do.
Like, what if I want 4?
And I don't know where I got that ratio from, but that's what I do.
Okay. The little insight into the mind, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, so budget $6.8 million for Drop Dead Fred.
Mm-hmm. 6.8.
6.8, and then
that's
it gained
less than the Dungeons and Dragons movie,
which is crazy to think about. Which is so crazy. And I mean, it didn't do amazing, but it made money. It got 14.8 million back. So, I mean, nothing to write home about. No crazy blockbuster movie, but it at least wasn't a total flop, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll get to a little bit of responses, critical responses and reviews after we talk about the plot a little bit.
Oh, snap.
Yeah. So the overall plot. So our main character, played by Phoebe Cates, is Elizabeth. And it starts out that she's a stenographer, which is very kind of a random job. Mm-hmm. But it starts out with her trying to approach her husband that she is allegedly separated from, you know, trying to work up the courage to talk to him after a falling out. And she goes to see him on her lunch break to sort out their issues. But he basically instead says, no, you're totally right. We're getting a divorce. It's like we cannot continue. There's no way. And he's apparently in love with another woman, Annabella, who I thought she worked at the same place as he did or something. And apparently he cheated on Elizabeth with Annabella on their couch at their place. So fun facts. After this, so her day is going terribly. She decides to go call folks. And then while she's on the payphone, a man breaks into her car, steals her purse. And then another guy walks around and steals the car in general. So now she is lost everything. She's on foot. She runs to her place of work because she's on her lunch break. And then she arrives too late to allow the court to move forward, and then gets fired on the spot, which I thought was weird because they waited for her the whole time to get the trial started. But then as soon as she showed up, they just fired her. So it's like, well, you still can't start. So what are we doing? You should at least let her like finish out the day first, but whatever.
That's true. Or be just an understanding boss, you know?
Yeah. Those were not around in the 90s, I guess. So she leaves the courthouse. She runs into her childhood friend, Mickey Bunce, brings up memories that they had together, including Elizabeth's imaginary friend, who is called Drop Dead Fred. And Mickey remembers how everybody else thought she was crazy, but he believed her. And a series of flashbacks show that though Drop Dead Fred caused like havoc and craziness, he also gave Elizabeth like some happiness and I guess some fun in disorder. Okay, you froze for a second, but you're back.
Oh, you were like twigging out.
Oh no. Zoom.
Also, every time I open Zoom, it doesn't update now.
Really?
Yeah, it's weird.
Mine has not been doing that.
I
don't know if that's good or bad.
We don't know.
Yeah. So yeah. So what were your first thoughts on her crazy day? It sounded like a fun time, right?
Wait, what?
I said, what did you think about her crazy first day in this movie?
Oh, I mean, there was a lot going on, and like I feel like I'm mixing up the order of the events after she meets that guy. There's the blonde-haired guy or whatever.
Childhood friend.
Yeah. Is that the same day where they go out for dinner, or is that a different day?
That's a different day. That comes later. She just runs into him as she's like bringing her box of belongings out of work.
Yeah, and then that's how she started seeing him again, right? Because he mentioned him. Like it was almost like she forgot about it or something.
Well, so after he mentioned him, she almost kind of forgot. She had like almost blocked it out of her mind because when he's like, yeah, you had an imaginary friend, right? And she was like, what? And then she like started to remember. But since she had no car, no job, no money, she has to move back in with her mother. So that's where she goes next. Her mother seems like a piece of work. She is unsympathetic about anything that has happened to Elizabeth up till now, and blames Elizabeth for her divorce. So that's super cool. And boy, this plot like jumps all over the place. But so the first night she's back, her mom has this like super clean carpet and like super pristine house, and she's like real anal about everything.
Yeah, there's like a sign that says like do not walk on this or do not put your feet or something.
Yeah, do not walk on carpet, which is funny because she didn't know Elizabeth was going to come over. So is that sign just for her because she lives alone? Like, what are we talking about here?
Maybe she thought she would forget, you know?
Yeah. So she's back with her mother and she stays the night. And during the night, she pulls out this old Jack in the Box that she used to have as a kid. And it's like all taped up and dirty and nasty looking. And she puts it on her windowsill and then she goes to bed. But in the middle of the night, she wakes up and it's like, you know, cranking the little music box Jack in the Box hammer, arm, whatever. The crank,
all
if you will.
Of that, yeah. Cranking the crank, you know?
Yeah. It was cranking the crank. It was making noise. So she was like, what the heck? So she goes and she takes the tape off of the box, and then out comes Drop Dead Fred.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. Who is this insane looking large man. He has crazy red hair. He's usually wearing some kind of crazy green suit to kind of look like a leprechaun, like Kendra said. And he's just bouncing off the walls, quite literally.
I wonder, I'm going to interject here,
Mhm.
and I almost wonder if this was like inspiration for it or not, but in campaign 2 for Critical Role, one of the characters, like basically it's too big to explain, but basically the person that she worships is this person called the Traveler, who just like mysteriously showed up one day and like kind of taught her magic and kind of seemed like an imaginary friend. And he's like described as having like red hair and wearing green. And I really wonder if like there's some kind of like correlation, because that was literally the first thing I thought of.
Maybe. Might have to do some research.
Mm-hmm.
Pull an inspiration from great 90s
I mean, the
movies.
Traveler is like an entity, but the way he was like described was like very this.
Yeah. And pops out of nowhere and goes away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And like mischievous, causing chaos and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, this imaginary friend, quote unquote, is back. He's causing problems. He's like super energized, but he's very confused because Elizabeth is now grown up. The last time he saw her was when she was a very little kid. But he proceeds to go crazy just as he would have back in the day, I guess, for an 11, 10-year-old child causing destruction. That's kind of what he's about. And eventually, well, before that, so the first thing he does is obviously they have to go downstairs, and he goes finds dog shit and tracks it all over the nice clean carpet that was blockaded off, not to be walked on. So that makes her mom very happy, and she has to clean it all. But eventually, he reveals that he cannot leave until Elizabeth is happy again. So he agrees to help her try to get Charles back because she's so convinced that this man that cheated on her and has kind of a slime ball type guy, she is convinced that he is how she will be happy.
Kind of had creeper vibes.
He was really, yeah, dude. Like after the first scene, you're like, why are we bothering with this? I mean, I guess I get self-worth type things and whatever, but yeah, it was like, dude, this guy's crazy. Just get out of here. He's like a slime ball. So they are on a quest to get her back with Charles right off the bat. And, her mom does stuff to try to help her. She gives her a makeover to look exactly like her, which was probably a little creepy, to try to get your daughter back with her ex-husband, but you dress
honestly
her up to look just
like everyone was creepy except the childhood friend. He was like thriving and vibing.
Yeah, but he was weird as shit.
That's why he was thriving and vibing. Have you met me?
What about Carrie Fisher's character Janine? She was not like creepy or anything.
Fine, it was only the like direct relational people who were creepy.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
So yeah, she goes through this makeover. She's doing this crazy stuff. She goes. Now all of a sudden, Fred is like ruining her life again because while obviously she can see him, no one else can. And everyone thinks she's doing all the things that he's doing, classic gaslighting behavior and weird stuff. Weird stuff's going on.
Yeah, weird stuff.
Yeah. So she tries to run away. She gets with her friend Janine, who's Carrie Fisher, having a very weird relationship on her houseboat with this old lawyer guy who we learn later is also married. So they have their own things on the side there, I guess. But like Fred is doing crazy stuff, like cutting Elizabeth's hair while she sleeps. She's waking up looking insane. And there's really just like no talking your way out of that. You just look like a mental patient. Her friend lets her stay there with her on her houseboat while she figures her life out. But then she sees Charles driving by on their boat. So apparently they had a boat too. And she's like,
I mean, they looked like they had a lot of money. So
he was a Jaguar salesman. Yes.
yeah, if you had a houseboat, would you let me stay there?
Sure.
Cool.
Yeah. Have a party on that houseboat.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
You can play Rage Cage on it.
Yeah. Let the waves interfere.
Mm-hmm.
So for some reason, Elizabeth thinks it's a good idea to try and drive this houseboat after her ex-husband, which I thought was crazy. Like your friend lets you come stay on the boat, and you're like, oh, I'll just take it for a drive. Doesn't really work like that. And then Fred is, trying to help. He's very excited about being a pirate with her.
Arg, matey.
Yeah. He has a very fancy little pirate outfit all in green just for him. But he obviously causes more chaos, and he makes Janine's houseboat sink. So that was also really good.
Mm-hmm.
She has to go approach Janine at her workplace and break the news. And then Janine is like the only one that believes her that Fred is a thing, because she tells Janine, like, oh my gosh, he's right there. He's sitting in that chair. And obviously, she can't see him, but she believes Elizabeth and goes, like, pulls the chair out of the conference room and, like, tries to, I don't know, she looked like a crazy person herself because she was, like, punching things and smacking nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But then it was revealed that she was having an affair with this guy and things were a little sketchy. But so now her day is also kind of ruined with her houseboat gone and her side piece, his side piece. I don't know what they were doing, but yeah.
Everyone's a side piece.
Yeah, to someone.
That's right.
Yeah. So Elizabeth's looking crazier and crazier as the day goes on. She meets up with her childhood friend, Mickey, the blonde guy, who has 2 left ear piercings for some reason back in the 91. And he kind of looks like a boy band dude. And this guy is just, I mean, he's insane.
His vibe was weird because he kind of kept making it seem like he thought she was crazy, but then he was like, screw it, I'm gonna embrace it too, and started throwing food. And I was like,
yeah. Okay. Yeah, because Fred like launches a plate while they're out to eat at this nice place. And then he's like, whoa, why'd you do that? He's like, I don't know. He was like perma high and always happy. Like he's on like some kind of medication. And so he's like, you know what? I wish I could do that too. He just like starts throwing food, throwing plates. They get kicked out of a restaurant. I don't know, dude. That guy's insane. He should probably be committed to.
I was just gonna say this would be like us if we didn't see each other for a while and then went out to eat, but maybe not.
Would you be throwing plates all over? Like, oh.
Maybe. I guess it depends on the restaurant. Is it acceptable? Because like at Five Guys or whatever, you just put the peanuts on the floor. No, wait, that's Texas Roadhouse. But no, you do it. Doesn't Five Guys have peanuts too?
Never been to Five Guys. Don't know. But yeah, Texas Roadhouse, I have been to. They do throw peanuts.
Yeah, they do.
Nice. There you go. Throw peanuts on the ground. No one cares.
Apparently, this is from a Taste of Home blurb. 11 secrets Five Guys employees won't tell you.
Whoa.
Munching on complimentary peanuts has become synonymous with eating at Five Guys, the same way it is with Texas Roadhouse. While you might think these are offered as a nice gesture, one employee admits that the peanuts are there to distract customers from watching the workers prepare their food.
Yeah, I guess it makes sense.
Do you think all these places still have peanuts after COVID?
That's a good question. They would almost need like their own individual little, as long as it's contained to a table, I don't see why not. As long as they're not getting shared, but who knows? Yeah.
Also, if you have a peanut allergy, you just can't go there.
Yeah, I guess. Or you just better watch what you touch, huh?
Well, some people they can't even be in like a room with peanuts. Can you
like
imagine
aerosol, juices
can
or
you
whatever?
imagine not knowing? I feel like most people with peanut allergies do their research, but this guy at my old CrossFit gym, he has a peanut allergy, and he asked about it or something when he was there, it wasn't supposed to have peanuts in it, but they served him something with peanuts in it, and he had to go to the hospital.
Wow.
Yeah, it was bad.
When we were in the fraternity and they were like, gently hazing us as we went in, they like cooked us these really weird meals. And one of the guys in our class was allergic to peanuts. And he was like, so they brought him out this random plate of stuff. And he's like, are there peanuts in here? And they're like, you don't need to know. And he's like, I do actually. I am allergic to peanuts. And they're like looking around because, they were trying to be all like tough and be like, no, you have to eat it. And they're like, oh shit, I don't know if there's actually peanuts in there. And yeah, it turned into a whole thing and they had to bring him out like a can of soup or something. But yeah.
That's really sad.
Fun times. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So back to our train wreck here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to interject because I clicked on the director's name,
Mhm.
and his name is weird because he's from the Netherlands.
Yes.
You said it right? I don't know how
Yeah.
you say that.
Ate de Jong is what I said. I don't know if that's how you say it.
But he's only directed like, let's see, one, two, three, four, only like 5 or 6 things that are in English.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and everything else is in like different, like I guess Dutch, but like Aye Dagon Feast, which apparently means every day a party.
Ooh, sounds like my kind of movie.
Gangers.
Ooh.
Dag Dokter. Bekende Gezichen Gemengde Gevolins.
Nice. If anyone sends that in with perfect spelling without looking it up, $100.
Odische Luge.
Mm.
That one's in German, actually, so I probably said that wrong. But whatever. I don't know how to I don't know words.
I don't know how to English word.
Well, those aren't English.
I don't know how to foreign word.
Yeah, unless it's Spanish.
Oh, okay. Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So, yeah, she's had a string of recent odd behavior, one could say, at this point in the movie. So her mom takes her back to her original children's psychiatric wing, who's a psychologist, but I like wing more. And she brings her back there, which is super weird because this is a place for kids for one thing. And her mom goes and talks to the doctor, blah blah blah, like, no, it's happening again.
There's an episode of Friends where we find out that Ross is in his 30s and still seeing his pediatrician.
Nice. Wonder if there are any benefits to that.
Probably not. Popsicles, or suckers.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. So she is here, and there's 3 or 4 other kids with their moms here. And other moms are like, oh my gosh, where's your kid? And she's like, no, my mom's there. And they're like, oh, you're weird. Why are you here? You're old and whatever. But it's in this room that it's revealed that Drop Dead Fred can see other people's imaginary friends. So they're all in this little lobby going crazy, but Elizabeth can only see Fred, and then all of the kids can only see theirs. So they can't see all of them. They only see one. But it was weird because it was almost like they all had a rapport and they knew each other. They're like, oh, imaginary friends unite. It's a reunion of some kind.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. So, that kind of led me to believe, oh, this is probably an entity more than an imaginary friend, because clearly he sticks around for more than one kid because he knows all these people. So, yeah, that was an interesting little tidbit. Yeah, Fred is reunited. The imaginary friends of other patients, all children. Doctor prescribes medication to get Elizabeth to get rid of Fred. And every time she takes one of these pills, Fred just starts to look worse and worse and slowly die. So I guess it works to some extent. But as they're going through, Elizabeth gets back with Charles. She's kind of taking these pills and basically saying, screw it. ignorance is bliss. Maybe Charles is a terrible dude, but I'm happy because I'm here with him. Blah blah blah. I'll make him a salad, super romantic salad.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then as Fred is kind of about to die, you like holding on to life, and she's almost done taking her green pills. He reminds Elizabeth that back in the day when they were making a mess on the dinner table, um, she heard her mother coming, and she imagined Fred hiding in a Jack in the Box to
Mm.
get away from the mother. They had just made a delicious giant mud pie on the kitchen table. So everything was
Mm.
filthy. They dumped stuff everywhere, cornflakes. So the mother was obviously very mad. And when she figured out that Elizabeth thought that Fred was in the Jack in the Box, she taped it all up. And she's like, all right, not opening this.
Symbolic.
Very symbolic. And she said another thing that also was kind of a plot hole, because she was like, if you ever touch this again, I'll throw it out. And I was like, well, why don't you just throw it out? Like, why would you keep it?
Mm-hmm.
It made no sense. So she hid away the taped up Jack in the Box, which essentially made Fred go away for all these years. So that's why she had not seen him for, I don't know how long it had been, like 20 years or something.
Mm-hmm.
And this caused her father back then, Nigel, to leave in anger because
Thornberry.
Nigel Thornberry was also in this movie, married to Polly, and he thought that the mother was being crazy. She was being too harsh on Elizabeth, so he left and essentially caused their break like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this event left Elizabeth traumatized, and she obviously didn't have a very good childhood because her mom is kind of a little harsh. It was revealed that throughout time, whenever she found something that could like hurt Elizabeth's feelings or do things, that she would purposely do that. So not the best mother, maybe I would ever say. Um, and now that Elizabeth has remembered all of this, Fred shows her a letter that she wrote to him, promising that they'd run away together if he ever came back. So they run away from Charles. She finally puts her foot down and says, you're a scumbag, dumps the very romantic salad on his head, and is like, I'm out of here. Because the whole time he was still chatting up Annabella. They were still doing their thing, he was being skeezy. So
Heck yeah.
yeah. I guess one thing I kind of glossed over is at one point they did go to Charles's party when she was like all dressed up. And remember, he had like the Jimmy Neutron hair. He was like, Fred was getting himself all dolled up to look fancy.
Mm-hmm.
And he also had a habit of looking up women's skirts. So he was doing that at the party and being, a generally cool imaginary friend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So more havoc there. So this whole time, Elizabeth has been scared of being alone. She's latched on to Charles because that was what she thought was making her happy, but it was more of she just had someone around. So Fred helps Elizabeth escape to a dream world, and she is able to reject Charles and stand up to her mom in this world, kind of freeing her psyche, I guess. She's able to see young her like all taped up onto a bed, and she's like imprisoned, and she's able to remove the tape and get the little child out of there. So she's effectively, I guess, freed her childhood self.
Mm-hmm.
And Fred at this time says, well, you no longer need me. So they randomly, he's like, give me a kiss and a hug, and then you'll go back, which was weird because they like kissed on the lips, which I thought, would you want to kiss your like imaginary childhood friend on the lips?
I mean, if he's imaginary, I'm sure a lot of people kissed their imaginary friends on the lips if you think about it.
But he was also like this age when she was like 10, I don't know. I thought that was weird.
I was just trying to find a loophole.
Fair enough. Devil's advocate, I get it.
Yeah.
So after she comes to, she's able to completely break it off with Charles, not stay around, luckily. And she goes and stands up to her mother. But her mom begs her not to leave her alone. But Elizabeth encourages her to get some friends. Like, you need friends. I'm okay. Um, and then Polly later on visits Mickey, crazy blonde, um, and he has embraced spontaneity, I guess. You know, he's just doing things off the cuff because of their interactions, and he's a little wild.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Wow.
yeah, wow. And he introduces Elizabeth to his daughter, who is also causing havoc, making mud pies, doing crazy things. Um, and the nanny that was watching her quit, saying, you know, she's just too crazy. And the daughter blames Drop Dead Fred for the mischief. So Elizabeth realizes Fred is now with Natalie, although she cannot see him anymore. And she tells Natalie she believes Fred is real and to give him her love. So she knows that Fred has gone on to help the next child that has some kind of trauma, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really kind of the whole plot of the movie. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure I glossed over a couple things. I mean, generally a lot of child mischief. You know, he would pick a lot of boogers, wipe them, flick them, smash plates, make mud pies. What else do you do? Oh, getting sick when he would do the like, you know, like fake throwing up all the time.
Mm-hmm.
He did that a lot. So it was just very like, you know, any 10-year-old, I guess, mischievous boy type of behavior. Um, but yeah, overall, apparently he is just there to help the child through trauma when they're young. And when they get through that, he will move on. Even though I don't really see how all the destroying and doing crazy shit all the time is going to get them through that. I mean, not necessarily a A to B type situation, but that was the goal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what did you think of the movie overall?
It was weird.
It was weird as a Kendra response.
Mm-hmm.
Any parts that you enjoyed?
I just really liked the dinner with the friend.
Okay, when they were throwing spaghetti and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she was being. She appeared to be a crazy person. She wasn't really.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. So I guess with that we can kind of move into reception and review.
Mm-hmm. Hell yeah.
So yeah, some critical response. Um, Drop Dead Fred was critically panned upon release, but it has gone on to become more of a cult film at this point. Um, Rotten Tomatoes, it has an approval rating of, do you want to take a guess?
17%.
Not too far off, 11%. But it only has 36 reviews, so that might be a little kind of a small pool. The site says, tackling mature themes with an infantile sensibility, Drop Dead Fred is an ill-conceived family comedy that is more likely to stir up a headache than the imagination. So there you have it. Metacritic has a score of 25%, indicating generally unfavorable reviews. Gene Siskel gave the film 0 stars and said, "This is easily one of the worst films I've ever seen." And then writing for Entertainment Weekly, Margaret Lyons asked, "Is it supposed to be hilarious or a really, really depressing story about the long-term effects of emotional abuse?" Um, so yeah, some dark tones. I guess that's where the dark comedy aspect of it comes in.
Mm-hmm. I saw a lot of stuff about mental health and stuff when I was
Mhm.
looking things up.
Yeah. Another folk stated Phoebe Cates had an appealing performance, but could not salvage this putrid mess. Recommend only for people who think nose picking is funny. Which, you know, might be a decent amount of people. Who knows?
That's true.
Yeah. So, like it already mentioned, it has an 11% on the tomato meter, but audience score, it does have a 77%. So the audience liked it a little bit more, and that's actually over 100,000 ratings. So that's decent.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. And I thought I'd pick out, you know, a couple of good reviews
Heck
and
yeah.
see how the other side of people thought of it.
Oh yeah.
So this one is a 10 out of a 10, and it's titled Brilliant Snot Face, which is what he constantly called Elizabeth throughout the movie, was Snot Face. Warning, spoilers, if you made it this far. This is one of the best movies I have ever seen. Up until now, I thought imaginary friends were just that. But since this movie, I'm not so sure. Made me realize a grown-up does not have to be serious and do boring things. I should introduce Fred to my, quote, imaginary friend, Kathy the Dump Girl. Whatever that means.
Okay.
Fred's great. Rick Mile really excelled himself. He's always great, though. So much fire. Must be the hair. I love the freedom Lizzie gained through the movie, fought against those who would use and oppress her, how she regained her lost childhood, discovering that her inner child has always been within. Who's for plate smashing, mud pie anyone, winky face emoticon.
I mean, honestly, I don't mind plate smashing, or like I want to go to a break room or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Break.
Yeah, I think that's what they're called. Where you like smash TVs and you smash the glass and like just break shit.
Yeah, but a break room is like at your job.
I think it's kind of a play on that though, isn't it?
Oh yeah, rage room. I think is what most of them are called.
Oh, rage room.
Yeah, but we have one. I think there's
here.
one in like the Uptown or something. Like I'm pretty sure there's one in here.
Really?
Oh wait, is this it? It's in Kennewick. Take a break.
Take a break. Break some shit.
And I really want to do the escape rooms. I think those are in the Uptown.
Those can be fun.
I've never done one.
I did one, but I did it was like a company party. So there was like too many people in there, and it was like, just kind of less fun.
And old people?
Yeah. Yeah, a little bit on the older side. So, okay. So that was a 10. Boy, people really like to write long reviews on some of these. But you didn't give a rating. Can you just write on here and not give a rating?
I think so.
Interesting. Okay, here's a 10. Great for kids and adults that like fantasy. This is a movie that I loved as a kid. I never understood any of the adult parts of the movie, of course, at a young age, but the movie itself never left my memories and has stayed with me as I've grown up. Now I'm going on 26 years old and watching it again. I haven't seen it since I was in elementary school. It brings back so many good memories and was one of my favorite movies as a kid. Now that I'm an adult, I understand all the adult parts of the movie, which now has a slightly different meaning. Okay. And it's still a good movie for kids and for any adult that likes fantasy, especially adults like me that wish they could go back to being a kid. Wow.
Nap.
Yeah. How long is this one? This one's not. Oh my God. I should send you this is like this whole page of one
Sometimes
review.
They're long,
Oh
man.
my gosh. So this person said Calvin and Hobbes in film form. Drop Dead Fred is essentially a film version of grown-up Calvin and Hobbes, except the real kid is the good one and the imaginary friend is naughty. There are so many original, funny, creative scenes in the film that it is worth watching for those alone. Having said that, I did find the film a little boring until Fred's introduction. After that, however, there isn't a boring moment to be seen. Rick Mayall plays the part perfectly, E.B. Case is excellent, and the costumes are superb too. I would wholeheartedly recommend this film to anyone who still holds on to a bit of the child in them. I'm still clinging to mine, and I hope I never lose grip.
Why did you read it like that?
I don't know. That's how I imagine that person sounds.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I thought I'd smash cut here.
Whoa.
Let's go to...
Whoa, what does that mean?
What? It means transition time.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't think people say that.
People definitely say that. Smash cut.
Okay. All right.
Wait, why won't it load?
I feel like that could be a video game like Crash Bandicoot, but instead Smash Cut.
Smash cut. Oh yeah.
Or it could be a game mode in Smash Bros. Where you just cut people. Like if you button mash like I do,
yeah,
you're never gonna grab something. You're never gonna throw someone. It's just only gonna be slashing.
Oh, okay. So just give everyone swords.
Yeah. Or daggers. Or
daggers.
Rapiers. Or
those don't really cut that much, but yeah.
Or what's another slashing weapon?
A katana.
There's lots of different types of swords. Great sword, long sword,
Broadsword, short
yeah.
sword.
Yeah, like look at all that. And
Yeah.
you hold them in between your toes, put one in your mouth,
Oh, oh,
hold on.
oh.
Hold on. It's the guy who was tied up
Yep.
on the cross.
Uh-huh.
Um
Jesus.
what is his name though? Wait, what's his name?
Oh no.
What's it start with?
A Z.
Zorro.
Yes.
I knew it.
I knew it all
smart.
along. Okay, here's some.
I was getting it confused with the monkey guy's name.
Luffy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here are a couple 1-star. This one's titled Siskel and Ebert listed it as the worst movie either had ever seen. I went to see this at the encouragement of my movie-going buddy. Gordon told me, wow, name drop. Gordon told me it's about a puka, like a rabbit in Harvey. What? What is this? Okay, hold on. We sat in the theater and a small child who was sitting with mom and dad turned to dad and said, "This was horrible." He was about 6 years old. On our way out of the theater, Gordon said, "I am so sorry." We never spoke about it again.
This person is mentioning a 1950 film called Harvey, where Harvey is a puka, a benign.
Oh,
why do I say things wrong all the time? Why do I know what the word is and say it wrong? But mischievous creature from Celtic mythology.
Huh. Okay. Well, the more you know there.
Elwood P. Dowd is an amiable but eccentric man whose best friend is an invisible 6 foot 3.5 foot tall white rabbit named Harvey.
Oh, okay. So kind of relevant. He goes on to say,
wow.
Later that week, Siskel and Ebert were on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Carson. They spoke about several movies, and when Johnny asked, "What's the worst movie you've ever seen?" without hesitation, in unison, they said, "Drop Dead Fred." That pretty much says it all.
That's harsh, though.
That is harsh. Another 1-star. Please, please, please do not watch. When I first saw this movie as a child, parentheses about 10 years old, I hated it. I thought the humor was vulgar and predictable. The effects were unconvincing at best. And the characters trying to resemble real life ended up being so stereotypical, even Punch-Out would be jealous, which is a video game, by the way. But after watching it again, I realized something. ... It's even worse now. Not only do all the complaints I put before still apply, but the psychological side of this movie is just terrifying. Nothing these characters do is logical, and they frequently break out into behavior we would deem as unacceptable or even insane. The concept of fantasy meets reality is completely shot in the foot if this is the reality you're creating. The only decent thing in this movie, and I'm really pushing it, is when Fred interacts with the other imaginary friends. I must admit that idea, while still immature, had potential. Apart from that, this movie is unacceptably bad. Without a doubt, the worst movie I've ever seen.
Wow.
Yeah. What did you sent me a list of swords?
Look at how many there are.
Well, yeah, there's more than you can count. I mean, you probably can't count them, but you could just make a new one.
Yeah, I can count pretty high, Scott. I don't know if you know
I don't know. Yeah. Okay. we'll do one more 1-star.
Hell yeah.
And then a couple
There's
fun
a sword
facts.
called a claymore?
Yeah, it's like a giant 2-handed sword.
But that's an explosion.
Well, what do you think came first?
Explosion.
They made C4 way before they made swords.
Yeah. Way before the 15th century.
Yeah. Okay, last 1-star we'll read here. Way back, September of 2000.
Oh boy.
1-star titled Yuck. I saw this movie when it first came out. I was a junior in high school, so my boyfriend and I thought that the sophomoric humor would be most appropriate for a date. We were wrong. We both hated the movie. Drop Dead Fred is just a bunch of outrageous and disgusting gags, pun intended, which might amuse a 6-year-old 1 second and have his parents covering his eyes the next. The idea of an imaginary playmate becoming flesh and blood is quite amusing, but the plot of this movie, parentheses if there is one, keeps Fred nothing more than someone to blame and a troublemaker. My imaginary playmate was much more caring, sensitive, and mature than Fred will ever be.
Snap.
Yep.
Dizzle, Miss Frizzle.
Oh, yeah. So, across the board, like I said, kind of became a cult classic now.
Mhm.
People will watch it for a giggle, kind of like we did, I guess. So, a little bit of trivia I thought were fun facts. Apparently, Robin Williams was offered the role of Drop Dead Fred, but instead chose to play Peter Banning in Hook, which was probably a better choice. Rick Mayall played Drop Dead Fred instead. Mayall and Williams both died in 2014.
All right.
Weird. And I saw that Tim Burton was actually offered the directing gig, and he turned it down as well.
It'll either would have been a bad look for him or a better movie.
Yeah. A goof when Elizabeth and Fred are on the boat. She asks Fred, "What is the water doing there?" He replies, "I don't know." But his mouth is saying something else, which I did notice in the movie. He's like hanging off the rope and that audio comes through, but his like mouth moves like crazy. You're like, that is not what he said. Yeah. So those were a couple of fun facts for you there.
There's a couple scenes in Friends where you can tell it's like a body double instead of one of the main characters from like a side profile view. Like they had them sitting in, and then they didn't
didn't change it.
Yeah.
Nice. Makes sense. Yeah. Well, I mean that's kind of Drop Dead Fred. What kind of score would you give it if you were so inclined? Which you are, because I'm asking.
I don't know, because it doesn't fit into our normal trajectory of movies we've been watching for this, which is the basis of my Kendra rating scale.
Right.
It's
more of like a normal bad movie, you know?
Yeah, maybe like maybe like a 5 or something.
5? Okay. See, I think that's probably a pretty close rating to true. I think your Kendra scale's pretty good. So
probably because I'm so tired that I can't think on my normal, like that's just like I don't have the energy to be Kendra right now.
So your normal Kendra rating really applies to like those Dungeons and Dragons ridiculous movies.
Yeah. The more ridiculous I'm being, the more ridiculous my rating scale is being.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Because I think well, as much sense as it can make.
Okay.
Because I think I'm actually gonna, maybe our first time ever, we'll agree on a rating. I'll give it a 5 with you.
Look at that.
Yeah, I thought it was, okay. Clearly was not good.
Took us over a year.
Yep. And it had tons of plot holes and weird stuff, but I mean, it's worth a watch for a cult classic strained movie. So.
Also, we did this because last week both of us forgot that it was the last Thursday of the month, I guess.
So now I guess our new movie week is the first week of the month?
No, we'll just do 2 movies.
Oh, no, this is the 5-week month.
Still okay, it'll even itself out.
Yeah, we'll be fine. So that's really all I had planned. I didn't make a quiz because we both kind of watched it, so you kind of got the idea.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, that's all I had, quote unquote, prepped, as in looked at Wikipedia for. So.
Wow.
Yeah. A glance behind the curtain.
Okay, well, do you have anything else that you want to talk about, or?
I kind of mentioned the shows I'm watching. You just kind of mentioned a show. See the Sick, Shoes of the Week. Bam.
Yeah.
Yeah, some new Jordans. Other than that, I'll have to employ Kendra. I got a Forerunner, so now she's the Forerunner dictionary, and
yeah.
Yep. Use you to.
You should just give it to me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I'll think about
it. Be a killer Christmas present.
No joke, right? Best Christmas ever. Yeah, I guess that's really all I got this week. Still listening to kind of the same podcast, so nothing new to report there. Go support them if you haven't.
All right. Well, you can find my dice at brokenboatdiceshop.com.
Yeah, scan the QR code on YouTube.
You can find us on our social medias at 5 MMPOD. You can send us an email to 5FIVE moreminutespod@gmail.com. You can like and subscribe on like every app
All of the
for
things.
podcasts and download our episodes and leave us a rating and a review and share us with your friends and family, your friends who are your family and your family who are more like friends and family. Yeah.
Yeah. Until next time, we're clocking out. Appreciate it.
Bye.
See ya.